Hi, this is Kenty Can. My guest today is Myriam Madden, the new Global President of CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. CIMA is the largest body of management accountants in the world, with nearly 250,000 members. In Canada, CIMA has got about 1,100 members. Myriam Madden is an experienced finance and financial services specialist. Her most recent position was that of Director of Finance with Historic Scotland, an executive agency of the Scottish Government. It's my pleasure to welcome today Myriam Madden to ATN and to Toronto. Myriam, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kenty.
I understand it's hot off the plane. You just arrived here and here we are today.
Indeed. This is my first visit to Canada, first time to Toronto. I've been here an hour, so this is a very nice introduction to Toronto for me. And I look forward over the next few days getting to see more of Toronto, meeting more of our CIMA members, our Canadian CIMA members, and obviously we have the Mayor's Cricket Cup coming up over the weekend, so very much looking forward to it.
Well, you know, so that means I can't even ask you what you think of our fair city just yet. You know, just at the airport and now here we are. But you know, over the last 10 years or so, we here in Toronto, and certainly at the ATN, we've been accustomed to meeting the new CIMA president, you know, days after their ascendancy to the position of president of CIMA globally. And so because of the hierarchy, you already knew that last year when you were deputy president,
Indeed,
that you'll be president this year. And days afterwards, you'll be here in Toronto for a very special reason. We've been doing this over the last 10 years. So I just want to know, were you looking forward to this? And what have they been telling you about coming to Canada? This is your first trip. Have you really been looking forward to it then?
well, you know, I have actually, very much looking forward to it. So I do think CIMA Canada, you know, they're very clever, very canny, as we would say in Scotland. So I'm sure the timing isn't around the inauguration of the president, but this is my first official duty as CIMA's global president. And so whether the timing, CIMA Canada have linked those two things together. So it's a wonderful start to my year as president. And certainly all my predecessors who've come here before me, certainly over the last 10 or 12 years, speak really highly of the event. So CIMA is about business. Our mission is to help people and businesses succeed. And when I hear about this event, you know, it's very much about how we grow the profile of CIMA and management accounting. It's how we help businesses succeed. And actually, it's about how we contribute to our communities. And this is a wonderful example of what we stand for. So I'm delighted to be here and very proud of CIMA Canada in particular for pulling this event together.
Well, I know you were born and you were bred in Ireland.
Indeed.
You've now been working in Scotland for a number of years. Hewlett-Packard, a graduate trainee, that's where you started, and you worked your way up progressively to very responsible management positions in finance and in the financial sector. But I'm just interested, I'm curious as it were, about your most recent position, because now you're full-time as president of CIMA globally. Historic Scotland, we're accustomed to our managers of finance to being with a bank, an insurance company, and other organizations. But here we are, a member of the Commonwealth, you know, and we certainly are aware of Scottish things and English and Irish and so on. Well, what is the business of Historic Scotland?
Well, great question. So when I moved to Scotland, you're right, I was born and bred in Ireland, went to university in Ireland, and then I took an opportunity with Hewlett-Packard, who were in Scotland, and so hence moved over to Scotland at that point. And almost as a tourist in Scotland, I knew Historic Scotland because they manage all the castles and towers and ruins around Scotland. And if you know anything about the UK, we have a really rich history, a lengthy history. So Historic Scotland, on behalf of the people of Scotland and the Scottish Government, manages and maintains about 350 historic sites. So that's everything from Edinburgh Castle, which many of your viewers may be familiar with, to battlefields, which just look like a flat green field, but actually under the ground. It's archaeological treasures, equally underwater ships and wrecks, for example. So they look after about 350 historic sites And they range from Edinburgh Castle, which is in fantastic condition and really wonderful to go and visit, and then some other sites which are maybe less of an obvious visitor experience. And so from a finance point of view, you know, it was probably one of the more challenging roles I had. So we used to get some public funding from Scottish Government, but then equally we had to generate our own commercial income. And so through places like Edinburgh Castle, that was a very successful commercial venture for us. But if you imagine, if you have 350 historic sites that are on average 400 to 500 years old, and you're trying to maintain them and you're trying to keep them safe so the public can go and visit, and you're trying to record the historical interesting facts, it's a very expensive business. So actually, as a director of finance in that type of organization, it's probably more challenging than the average role in a bank.
Yeah, because you're not just selling a consumer type product in that sense. You're not selling pens and watches and so on.
Exactly.
But this is history. And hey, people from all over the world would want to get to Scotland and see and you know, have some practical experience with all this history. So that's wonderful. And I'm certainly glad that you were able to explain it that way. Historic Scotland. But now, of course, no longer Director of Finance, and now here you are sitting with us, the brand new president of CIMA,
Indeed.
Global CIMA.
Yeah.
Well, we'll continue chatting, Myriam. We do have to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us. My guest is Myriam Madden, the new president of CIMA Global. Please stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back. My guest is Myriam Madden, the new president of CIMA. Well, Myriam, as we said at the beginning, every year for the last 10 years or so here at ATN and in Toronto, we've been welcoming the new president of CIMA. And there's a particular reason why you come here. Yes, it's a great chance to get away right after the election, but you come here because of the CIMA Mayors cricket match. And that's happening very shortly. By the time this show is aired, that game might have already been played. But what do you know about the CIMA Mayors Trophy? What have they told you, and why is it big? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in a couple of days' time, I'm going to know an awful lot more, so maybe we can come back and talk then. But certainly, many of CIMA's presidents over the last 10 or 15 years have always committed to being here at this weekend. It's really important to us. That's really the type of event it is. It's fantastic profile for CIMA and for management accounting. And actually, I think it's a great example of our members, you know, who volunteer their time, their enthusiasm, their connections to bring together a fabulous event that contributes so much to our communities, to our young people, and at the end of the day is great fun and competitive. So it's had the best of everything, actually. So a wonderful event. You know that
CIMA's members, management accountants, they certainly have made their presence felt in the boardrooms and in the offices right across this country and around the world. But what CIMA Canada is really known for here, they have really made their presence felt out in the community. They have used cricket, great English sport. I mean, that's where it originated. Now it's great Commonwealth sport. But they've used cricket as a major forum for bringing communities together, for marketing and promoting it. And cricket is really growing in this country now. I know, coming from where you come, you know there's cricket in the air all the time. As we speak, there are test matches and one-day international matches being played in England. But CIMA Canada has really come into prominence in our community because of using cricket to bring us together. Particularly now in schools. The Cricket Across the Pond program, where they selected school kids here to go to England and play cricket. It helps them with leadership and all the great things that come about because of that. Now, this year, the kids are going to Sri Lanka. So they're, broadening their horizons all the time. Mm-hmm. What's CIMA Global, the corporate CIMA? What's your view on all of this? And also, are there other similar type initiatives by other regional bodies?
Well, I've got to say, there is something very unique about this initiative. And certainly in terms of its global reach, as you say. So it's now reaching its tentacles into the UK, into Sri Lanka, and obviously huge across the schools in Toronto. It seems like a lot of the governmental departments, etc. as well. So I think the scale and the momentum of it is really quite unique. In terms of the role of members in CIMA, many of our members all around the world get involved in similar initiatives. And it is really about, you know, how do we engage our own members? You know, how do we play to their strengths? And so typically they're very good at organizing, they're good natural leaders, they're good natural business people, they have fantastic contacts. And very often then it is about giving something back to the community as well. So it does play to a lot of our strength. But I think, you know, this idea of bringing sport together with CIMA and with our communities is wonderful. And for young people, as you say, the skills you get through sport, you know, you learn to be competitive, you learn to play fairly, you learn to play by the rules, you get to participate, you're socializing, you keep fit. And I think it is also exposing younger people to role models. So where they might have typically have a view of an accountant as not necessarily being a very interesting person, actually through cricket, it maybe portrays us in a more rounded way. So we are fun, interesting people as well.
Yes.
And actually, you know, exposes them to start thinking about what they might want to do when they grow up and what type of career they might like to have. So, you know, CIMA Canada in particular, you mentioned our members here in Canada hit above their weight in business and in boardrooms. And actually, even in CIMA, I would say they hit above their weight. So we have 1,100 members and students here in Canada. Around the world, as you mentioned, we have about 250,000. But actually, if you think of CIMA Canada's impact on our governing bodies, and as president, I now chair the governance side of our organisation. So, for example, last year, we were very proud to award a silver medal to Ranil Mendes. So there are very few and far members.
Ranil being one of the chair of planning, I think, and promotion.
Indeed, yeah. So he's one of the key figures in pulling the whole cricket event together.
Yes.
And I think probably one of the founding fathers of CIMA Canada board.
Certainly.
So it's a wonderful opportunity to acknowledge his years of contribution to this event and to CIMA Canada. And also this year we have Amal Ratnayeka, who chairs one of our policy committees. So these are global policy committees.
Amal was the previous president of CIMA Canada.
Indeed, absolutely. And is still very actively involved here in CIMA Canada. We have 5 policy committees in CIMA, and Amal chairs one of those now for us. This is his first year as chair. So again, CIMA Canada continues to hit above its weight in CIMA and absolutely in boards and businesses.
Well, certainly CIMA is much loved here in the city where they do most of their work. And as I said, individually the members will work for their own organizations, and that's personal and private, that's their own business. But in terms of community involvement, the committee certainly knows about CIMA through its involvement in cricket and bringing it to the fore and encouraging kids. And as you quite rightly said, you know, kids no longer will they think of accountants and management accountants being boring people.
Good.
They just have to look at you and listen to you speak, and they'll know. Accountants are no longer, you know, that's not true anymore. And now they help them to bring about, to enjoy a sport they really love.
Absolutely,
I mean, their roots, a lot of the members of CIMA here, their roots go back to cricket in countries. And what has happened now is that cricket is growing so much here because of efforts like this, not just only that, but efforts like these. And so players here, cricketers here are not only, they don't only have their background in cricket, but we have new people coming to the fore, new people getting involved in cricket. And CIMA is certainly using their influence, which they ought to have, because they're working out in industry and they know all the important
Absolutely.
people. And also, something like the CIMA Mayor's Trophy, when you get there on Saturday, you'll say it's a whole lot of fun. The atmosphere is, yes, it's cricket and it's exhibition, but there are a whole lot of people there and they're all having fun and enjoying this great game.
Well, I look forward to it.
We now have to take another short break, but we'll be right back. Please stay with us. We'll be back after this short break with my guest, Myriam Madden, the new Global President of CIMA. Welcome back. My guest is Myriam Madden, the new Global President of CIMA. Myriam, the way CIMA internally is set up, you have to serve your apprenticeship. There, you know, you've served on different committees until you get to where you are the vice president and then the deputy president and now the president. You've got a certain structure that comes along there. Talk a little bit about the challenges and the rewards you had coming along the way in CIMA.
Well, great question, Kenty. It is, I guess, a long journey in many respects, but a very fulfilling one. So I started as a student when I graduated from university and started working. One of my finance directors spoke to me and said, you know, you may think you're finished studying, but actually, if you really want to progress in your career, and actually he also mentioned salary progression to me. So as a young 21-year-old
Yes.
woman, that was a big motivating factor.
Also important, yes.
And you know, he advised me actually, you know, if I was serious about advancing my career, I should think about another qualification. I looked around and CIMA was the one that really suited me best. So yeah, so I started as a student, working during the day, studying at night. At that age, you're sacrificing your social life, which is a huge sacrifice. I became a member, and eventually, as I advanced in my career, I made strategic contributions to my organizations. I became a fellow. And then actually, I was interested, I suppose, in starting to give back to my community in Scotland. And I joined my local branch and got involved in helping organize events in and around Edinburgh and in Scotland more generally. And then I stood for council, which is the governing body of CIMA. So there are between 50 and 55 of us who basically look after and oversee the strategy and direction of CIMA. So I joined council, and then I progressed through there and became chair of a policy committee, and then en route to being president. So over the years for me, you know, there's always a juggle in your work-life balance, if that's the phrase you want to use. So I've always worked full-time. I'm a mother. I have a 12-year-old son, and I'm married. Live in Scotland. CIMA activity takes me a lot to London and beyond, and so increasingly I'm spending time there. So you do have to have a supportive family around you, and I'm very lucky to have that. And then equally, you know, there are weeks when you just think, you know, I've got too much going on. I just want, you know, a quiet evening, no phones ringing or anything else. But, you know, as I look back, it's been so rewarding. You get to come into contact with great people who motivate me and inspire me. And, you know, I suppose it is the opportunity to give that back to newer members and students and younger people who are coming through. And then, quite frankly, you get to a point in your career and it's less about your technical skills and it's more about how you manage issues through a committee, or how you talk to a chief exec and how you persuade and try to influence him to do something. And actually, you know, for me, CIMA has offered me a lot of that development opportunity. And I would encourage any of our students and members, you know, concentrate on your studies first, but once you get through that, I would absolutely encourage you to link in with your branch. You can do that face-to-face. Now we do it on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, but it is very rewarding, and I would really encourage people to think about doing that.
Well, it certainly is rewarding. You've done all this work, you've served your apprenticeship, you've served in committees, you've made your commitments, and you've done well, and now here you are, all because of your ability, your qualifications. You are now, I believe, the second female president of CIMA.
Indeed.
And you know, those opportunities are opening all around because I believe right here in CIMA Canada, we've got another female, another woman, who is poised to become the chair of CIMA Canada as well, Helen Berhana.
That's right.
She is poised. So, you know, women are taking their rightful positions, not just in organization and in business, but in the bodies that represent them and that they represent. And that's a fabulous thing.
And you know, business needs it. You know, so if you look at the business world, it's becoming more complex, more volatile. You look where we've been, you know, since the financial crisis a number of years ago. So actually, we need to be able to draw on a talent pool that is very rich and very diverse, whether it be gender or nationality or ethnicity. And so, yes, you're right. So I've met Helen, who's the deputy chair of CIMA Canada here. Equally, we've traded stories about, you know, how you look after the kids, and if the kids are ill and you've got a pressing deadline at work, and then, you know, equally there's a voluntary commitment in the evening. It is challenging, but, you know, I think we have to step up and be prepared to be challenged, and I think it's very rewarding.
What are some of the latest CIMA strategic initiatives?
Well, CIMA, you know, I would say is really moving forward at a tremendous pace. This is a really exciting time for me in particular to be president of CIMA, but for anybody who's a member of the Institute, it's a really exciting time. There's a whole array of things we're looking at. One, for example, is our global management accounting principles. And this is a first. So it's the first time that actually it's been set down in paper.
So it just launched last year, I believe.
Yep, just launched at the beginning of this calendar year, actually. So it's the first time anybody, any professional body has set down in paper what the core principles that underpin management accounting are. And so the principles have come out of that. So it's the first time they've been set down and described. And really, they paint the picture of what a best-in-class management accounting function looks like in any type of organization. So it's been a tremendous achievement. We've done that in collaboration with the AICPA. Mm-hmm. They are the American Institute of CPAs. And again, another, I suppose, groundbreaking collaboration that CIMA has undertaken. In 2012, we signed up a joint venture with the AICPA. So we are beginning to work quite closely on a number of initiatives, and by working together, we're able to develop these more quickly and also with a deeper understanding of global business. So AICPA represent 400,000 professional accountants in the US.
In the US, yes.
They are the single largest professional body in the world. So that just brings a depth and an understanding of business to CIMA, and together we're really pushing forward on a whole number of areas.
Well, we don't have a lot more time left in this particular discussion, so let me just ask quickly. Myriam Madden, financial specialist, new president of CIMA. When you're not doing all of this kind of work, what does Myriam like to do? What are her outside interests or hobbies? What is it that makes you tick?
Fortunately, I like to travel, so that plays very much to this role, which is good. In terms of relaxing, I like to exercise. I also like to watch sport, so that doesn't really count, does it, in terms of being fit? So my favourite hobby is cycling.
Cycling. Mm-hmm.
And actually it's our family hobby, so we like to do touring holidays, for example. So we pack up our bikes with these panniers that go on the back of your bike and head off for 2 weeks and tour around.
No Tour de France in the horizon then or anything?
Not quite Tour de France, but actually in
Tour of the
Scotland.
Highlands maybe?
Tour of the Highlands. I've done a couple of Tour of Highlands. So
Okay.
last month actually I did an 80-mile cycle, which is over about 1,200 metres with about 5,000 people. And Scotland offers nice, wet, windy weather, so make sure it's really challenging. So I love to cycle. It's a great sport.
My guest has been Myriam Madden, the new president of Global, and she's been chatting with us here in our ATN studios.